Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today I want to talk a little bit about managing your peers. I had a couple of my friends and a couple of people that I know pretty well ask me, hey, Gabe, how can I manage my peers when they become so frustrating for me, or they're just not listening, or we just don't have a very good relationship? And so, fortunately, this is something I have a little bit of experience in. And so, I wanted to talk about this and give you some tips and tools on what you can do when you are managing your peers or working with your peers, or you want to have a quality relationship with them. So again, my name is Gabriel Cox. I equip first-time supervisors with necessary leadership skills. I hope you find this video informative and valuable. So let's kick it off. First off, what's going on? What's the problem here? Well, there's a lot of lack of trust peer to peer. So I'll find that, or I've heard stories about where you just don't trust another person to get the job done. You don't think that they're going to get it done to your standard, whatever's going on. Another thing is that there's a lack of communication. The way you communicate with that person, the way you don't communicate with that person can become an issue. And so that it breaks down performance within your team, within your company, and it also has a very, very big impact on your company's or even your supervisor's goals or vision or mission. And so when you don't have trust and you don't have communication, it breaks everything down. And believe it or not, even though you don't say anything to your peers, to your direct reports about this, I certainly hope you're not. Even though you're not saying anything derogatory towards your peer, about your peer, towards your direct reports, they can still feel that energy. They know that when you are around the other coworker or your peer, they know that you're not going to get along or that there's going to be an issue there. And so that can also create a little bit of problems within your direct reports area. So again, it has impact on the goals of the company, which can be a problem. So why do I care? What are you doing? What's in it for me? Why am I listening to you talk? And the reason is because supervisors will often wonder how they can work cohesively with a peer. Whether or not they like the person is beside the point. What you want to understand is that you must work together as a group in some way or shape or form. Even though they might not get along with peers, it is in the best interest of the company and of the employees to get along. You're also, and this is part of my biggest thing, is that you're missing out on valuable relationships with your peers. Whatever you want your relationship to be is up to you. But when you can build a relationship with one of your peers, it immediately helps you expand your network. It allows for collaboration on a whole other level. And so when you don't have a positive relationship with your coworkers and your peers, it breaks down the potential for quality relationships. So what are you going to do about it? What tips do I have for you today? Well, today I'm pretty excited. Today I'm going to take this in a totally different direction. Generally, I like to give you tips on what I have experienced in my career as a supervisor. And today I'm going to do that. But what I did this time to kind of switch things up a little bit is I asked some friends what they saw in my ability to manage other peers. Because when I left the organization that I worked in, I found that was my crowning achievement. That was the thing I was most proud of. When I did an exit interview, they asked me, what are you most proud of in your career? And honestly, it was my ability to communicate with people of my same pay grade, to get everybody on board with what we were trying to do to accomplish the mission at hand. And so I asked my peers, hey, look, I'm going to do a video on this, and I want to understand what you saw in me and my ability to do this, because it's not the first time I've heard it. So I'm going to use personal experiences. And so let's see. Basically, what I'm going to do, the structure of this video is going to be along the lines of, I'm going to break it down into two areas. I'm going to talk about inner directed and outer directed tips that can help you manage your peers, work with your peers. So inner directed is things that you can control yourself, and you don't rely on others for help. Most likely, most of the things I'm going to be talking about for inner directed is going to be in your head. It's going to be controlling your emotions and things like that. The next thing is outer directed. So these are things that they have an effect on your ability to do your job, to navigate these outer directed elements. They will have a huge impact, and they could also limit your ability to succeed in this area. So these are outer directed. So what are we going to do? What's going on here? I'm looking at my notes at the same time here. So inner directed. We'll kick off with inner directed. First, you want to understand your role in the company and how your team fits in. Now I say this one first because it's the number one most important thing I can tell you. Understand your role and how your team fits in. Oftentimes, people will think, because I'm the supervisor, I don't have to do anything or listen to what they say. They think that because your position power gives you the ability to do or think whatever you want. But this becomes a problem because you're missing the point of what you're there to do. You're missing the point of the overall vision or mission of your company. And so be very clear on what your job is in alignment with the company's mission and vision. And if you need help with that, clarify that with your supervisor. Make sure you're working within the goals and vision of the company. The next tip I want to offer is to be firm when needed. So you want to be firm when needed with your peers. Okay, so this doesn't mean that everything has to be an argument. Not every single time do you have to get around somebody and feel like you have to argue, certainly your peers. You always want to look for the win-win. And what I mean by this is people often say compromise. I like to say win-win. And the reason is because once you can both come to a decision on what is best and in alignment with the company and with your direct reports, that can become a win-win. And when you can find that, there is no compromise, there is no problem. And finally, you want to choose your time wisely. And what I mean by this is when you are being firm, when you have to have a difficult conversation with a peer, you want to make sure that the medium that you use to talk to them is appropriate for who they are and what they believe and how they communicate. Some people don't like to text. Some people don't like to call. Some people don't like in person. Some people are too busy. Find out what your peer, how they like to communicate. In person, over the phone, via text message. Do they need a schedule? Things like that. So really find out what works for them. This will put everyone at ease and allow the communication to go that much better. You want to listen to the problem before responding. So oftentimes we get worked up. Our emotions are taking control and they start to have an effect on us. And so we start to react. Okay? You want to listen to the problem before responding. So take all the information in and then you can decide what you want to do with it. And then you also want to understand that when you're taking all this information, not everything is yours to fix. And when you're building this relationship with your peer, you're really going to see when you have a quality relationship, they're going to be willing to take this on themselves as well. So don't try to fix everything yourself. The other part is that you don't want to let it go to your head. You're newly promoted. You may be younger, you may be older, you may have been with the company for a short amount of time, and it can quickly go to your head. When you start seeing people come to you and asking you for questions, it's very easy to start getting your head full. It's a very natural response because, hey, you're proud of what you've done. That's, of course. Why wouldn't you be proud? So those are my tips for inner directed. The outer directed stuff is a little more challenging, and oftentimes how you respond to your peers is what's going to set this apart. So one, you want to speak truth to power. I did a video on this before, and honestly, it's probably it's very difficult. But you want to be able to speak to your managers in a way that's respectful and can get your point across. Your team is counting on you, and oftentimes your peers, if you are an outspoken person, they're going to rely on you to speak truth to power. You want to understand the pulse of your supervisors. And what I mean by this is you want to really get to know how they work, when they work, what they like, what they don't. Understand all of that. You want to act as a voice of reason. This means that you must become emotionally detached so that you can be reasonable in times where everybody is completely unreasonable, to be honest with you. Understand that not everything can go your way. Not everything is a fight, like I said earlier, but not everything can go your way. Always look for the win-win, but be ready for the times where the CEO or the supervisor above you is just going to tell you what's going to happen. Make sure that you have collaboration and that everybody is part of the decision. When you have buy-in from everyone in your peer group, it makes it so much easier to get things done. And the best way to do that is to ask for their opinion. Ask what they think. Now, there are going to be times where they have nothing to do with your job. They don't know how to turn a wrench or they don't know how to input some kind of software. That's fine. Get their opinion on how they might have handled it. Whatever. Always get buy-in with your peers. Always ask for make sure that they are being a part of a decision if they are impacted. And finally, second to last, I'd like to say that you want to rely on your closest contacts. They will hold you accountable. So I didn't get along with everyone. Not everybody liked me. Not everybody liked my approach. I was batting about 90%, I would say. There were a few people who really just didn't see eye to eye in my approach, and that's okay. It's fine. You're not going to get along with everybody. But the coolest thing is that when I had times that I was most stressed and most challenged, I had people I could count on to rein me back in. I'll never forget, there was a time where I was under extreme pressure and I was in over my head and it was incredibly stressful. And I started yelling at everybody. I started becoming that person. I started flipping out and started dictating what was going to happen and really started to flex my position power. I didn't like the way that felt. But what happened is about an hour later, my very dear friend came to me and he says, I don't know who the heck you think you are, but this isn't you. You need to chill out, take a break, and come back together. Because what he saw in me is he saw that I was outside of my norm. I was operating outside of what I just gave you. And it was really a reality check for me and incredibly helpful. And really, respect, finally respect. And we hear this all the time. But because I was able to include everyone in everything, regardless of what was happening, it didn't matter to me whether I liked them or not. The key was that I saw them as a valuable tool within the organization that we could get their opinion on. They had so many years of experience and you can lean on that. And by showing respect to them at all times, it will allow them to come to you freely. So as we come to a close, I'd like to ask a few questions. How important is a healthy peer-to-peer relationship in the workplace? The next question is, what steps have you taken to build a relationship with your peers? And finally, how clear are you on your role within your organization? A couple episodes to reference if you want to go back and listen to them. Episode 13, how to be approachable. Episode 9, friends are friendly. And finally, episode 5, speak up. And all that one is speaking up when it's your opportunity. I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to doing more. This is one that I've been excited to do for quite a while. And again, my name is Gabriel Cox. I equip first-time supervisors with necessary leadership skills. If you'd like, head on over to my website and subscribe for a free offer, the ultimate guide to identifying what type of leader you are in 5 easy steps. Thank you all. Have a great day.